Welcome everyone, I'm Pat Mitchell, and in today's video, I'm going to share with you my top 5 picks plus one bonus pick of the top pharmaceutical companies to buy now and never sell. So we're going to get right into the charts here in a second, but only if you promise me. Usually I would save that to the end, but you got to promise me to stick around to the why. Okay, so there's kind of two parts to this video. I'm going to share with you those 5, now 6 top pharmaceutical company picks to buy right now, but you got to stick around to the end because there's information that you will absolutely need in order to make an informed decision. Okay, so let's get into the charts and let's start sharing this. So give me 2 seconds to share my screen. I'm really excited to share this with you guys. Okay, so going into the charts here, let's start with GSK. So this here is a pharmaceutical company that has been chopping straight back and forth. And it's been going on for quite some time. And this is a good thing. A lot of people don't like consolidation. I love consolidation. It gives me a definitive range that I know you can count on. So it would take a huge catalyst, a very bad catalyst, in order for this to go down, right? It would have to break major. It would have to come out with horrible news in order to break any lower than this 28.61 level. So right now, we closed yesterday at $40.95, so about $41 a share. What I would do in this situation is where I like this to potentially start buying and nibbling in is in this support area. It's not a perfect level, and you could even go up a little bit higher at 38.18. That's where I would start nibbling in on this. Now, all of these picks, remember, this is more investment. This is long-term holds. This isn't something that you're going to buy and sell immediately. Now, on GSK, what you could do is if it wants to come down to this lower level at 33.33, right here at this lower level, in that area, you could definitely get it from 33.33 all the way up to the top of range at a minimum, this 45.84. Now, there is a slight trend here. So where I would want to be pulling profits is somewhere at this trend line. So depending on, sorry guys, 1 sec. So depending on, how long it takes to come down and then come back up, because that's the tendency of this stock, you may need to pay yourself into this 45, maybe if it takes a little bit longer, 44. But either way, you're going to be able to make about 10 points a share on this, which is a nice gain on a stock like this. Remember, these are investment stocks. So if we can start getting in and get a nice low average down here at 33.33, and it wants to start coming back up. And if you take a look here with the amount of time it usually takes in between dips, so this one, over to this, that is about 1 year. So about 274 bars. So that's about 1 year. And now let's check again. So from there over from valley to peak, about 408 bars. So you'll make 10 points a share in 1 year's time. And again, that's pretty good for an investment. Remember, these aren't penny stocks. You're not going to go up a mile immediately unless you hit some sort of major catalyst. So that is the first, GSSK. So now let's go over to Moderna. This is obviously a very famous stock in the world of momentum stocks for the huge run-up that it's had in the past. Now, right now, at first glances, doesn't look like it's doing too shit hot, but right now we're actually coming into a very valid support area. So I just want to blow this up a little bit. And what we're going to look for here is to buy into this area of 116.36. Now, if you take a look, if I blow this up a little bit further, we have a ton of support. So what I really like about this chart is this previous support, bunch of support, It's tested multiple times. It comes down, it tests, then it fails. I like seeing that. Okay. So when it fails, it comes back up right here where my cursor is, and it proves that weakness. Sells off, comes back up, retests that level. It tests again to make sure it's weak. That's what these stocks do. It does. It sells off. Now it tests and it starts coiling up. And now it's just pushed through. And it's pulling back to remount that very valid support. Now, I have a level here at that 116.71 area. You're not going to want to wait for that level. Why? Because professional traders are waiting for it. They're already starting to nibble in on this one. This one is going to come down and probably not test that level perfectly. That's the nature of these stocks. So you're going to want to get in that little bit early, right before that level. And then you can have your targets at here at 169.24. And then there is a lot of resistance here at 198.40. And then ultimately 217.58. Now, this obviously has a chance. There's always a chance for it to go absolutely ballistic again. And I'll get to my reasons why these are going to go ballistic. And they're never going to sell off to the point that you would lose all of your money. It won't happen. And I'll get to the point at the end of this video. So make sure you guys stick around. So that is our mRNA. Now let's go to NVS. So Navaredis is a stock that is way up high. This one is for someone that is patient. This isn't one to buy immediately. I know I said 5 stocks to buy immediately. This one's going to take a little bit of time to set up, but that's okay. It's right in this area, right here, right in this 92 area. Now, the reason why I'm saying that is it was trading in this channel for years, long time, right? And then it finally broke out. It pulled back, retested that area, retested. It just retested right in this area in April. It retested, and now it's shot back up to highs. So you're going to have to be patient and let it come down. Now, there is a chance if MVS is truly strong, okay, it will pull and it'll hit this 99.65 and then come up and break highs and continue on with the breakout. However, it doesn't mean it's weak if it comes down into 92. It can absolutely do that. That is okay. What the technicals are telling me here is 92, that is your go zone, okay? You can start nibbling in at 99.65 and start tapering in, averaging in, saving your bulk of your position down for the 92.01. If it does want to come down lower, it can come down into 88.27. That is completely acceptable. There is a ton of support there. I wouldn't expect it to break that support. It may come down and test multiple times, but that's what these stocks will do. So that is NVS. Now, Lilly is an interesting one. Now, I want to talk about Eli Lilly for a second. So Eli Lilly in the late 1800s wanted to come up with a drug company to produce quality medication. Quality medication in the time where there was nothing but literal snake oil salesmen. So that's a term that's come out that people use on a daily basis, but they might actually not know the history behind that. So there were people actually selling these elixirs. A lot of it was snake oil, literal snake oil. That's what it said on the bottle. These salesmen would go around all to these unassuming little communities, where farming communities, rural communities, even some bigger towns and cities at that time, and sell people these elixirs. Now, he wanted to start a drug company to provide actual legitimate medication that actually works to help people. He was someone that got pissed off and said, enough is enough. I'm going to do something that should have been done a long time ago. Nobody else is doing it. I'm going to do it. So hats off to the original Eli Lilly. Now, we're going to discuss this a little bit further a little bit later. So remember that point that I just made. Now, LLY, the stock, is obviously, it's a very expensive stock. Okay. Now, there would be a way to get involved with options. I'm not going to pull up options chains and give you the strikes and the pricing and all of that, because right now we got a lot of time on this one. what we would need to see on LLY is a proper sell-off. Now, if this came down into the area of this 616 up to like 627, there's a lot of range on this stock, remember? That would be an area I would consider. And again, for the same reasons I discussed before, it's something that I look for all the time in my technicals. When we have a definitive range, so we have highs here, highs here, highs here, pulls back, and it breaks above that, pulls back and remounts that level, that is proving strength. That's very important to realize. Okay, that is telling you something. These charts are always telling you a story, and that's the story it's telling you. It's telling you that it is wanting to go higher, and that's what it's done. Now, it might want to pull back, and if it's truly, really incredibly strong, it's going to hold this 791.55. However, that's way too high up, and I don't think I would recommend buying it there. It can move higher from there, but the risk is too much. So what I would rather do is wait for this 616.39 or even lower. Like, let's say you missed, right? There is a gap here. So we had a gap up to here. That's a gap up. This is your gap. Your gap fill is somewhere in this 453.34 area. If this ever, I don't care how bad the news is, okay? If it ever tests 453.34 or whatever that actual true gap fill is, you'd actually have to zoom in and get the actual gap fill. Go long. Go long. Never sell. Hold that shit for infinity. Okay? Until you're ready to retire. This will come back up. Lilly is one of the most reputable, is one of the largest pharmaceutical companies on the planet. And obviously, it doesn't succumb to bad news very often. It seems like they actually run their company properly, don't they? It has been straight up on this one. Or maybe they have some government contracts or something. We're going to discuss that more. So that is LLY. Now I'm going to get to the top two. And this isn't, I'm not just saving the top two. These are actually the two that I would throw my money in immediately. These things are ready to go. The beautiful technical support. Let's start with my second favorite, J&J, Johnson & Johnson. Johnson & Johnson, although it is met with, some people really do not like Johnson & Johnson for what they've done with baby powder and a lot of their products. But at the end of the day, when we are looking for companies to invest in, we want to see a company with potential growth and constant upside. And that's what it does. So it goes into these large consolidation ranges. Right here, you can see a consolidation range, right? So we've come up, we've obviously broken out, but when it broke out, it did not retest that level. And that's crucial. That's why it's pulling back. It did test that level finally, and it came back up. Now it's coming back down to test. The area I would feel really comfortable with this, see, I don't mind this right here, because if you were to zoom in, you're starting to see it get support. This thing's ready to go. And what we have here, potentially, remember the word potential, okay? Doesn't mean it has to. So from that level all the way up to highs, you're looking at about a 30% gain and a $43 per share gain. Okay. Now, 30% to a lot of the people that might be watching this, it doesn't sound like much. I understand that. You're used to trading penny stocks, or maybe you trade options and you're used to getting an insane amount. We don't want insane amounts in investment. That's where people look at things differently. You want to put your money somewhere that is relatively safe as it can be, and is going to give you growth year over year. Now, right now, we're in a little bit of a downturn. That's fine. That's good for investors that want to come in and put their money in there. You don't want to be going long on a stock like LLY that's going straight up. Why? Because there's too much risk. It hasn't fallen back to support yet, or fell back to support. And that's what this is doing right now. This is coming back into major support. We're coming down. We're starting to base. Now, would I go long here? Yes, I would go in and start very small, and see where it goes from there. Because remember, we're not holding this for a month or two. We're holding this potentially for years and years and years. Remember the title of this video, Go Long and Never Sell. That means obviously at some point you need to sell, right? That's kind of silly to say never sell, but we need to sell when we're ready for retirement, which for a lot of you might be 5 years, 10 years, 20 years from now, right? Sorry, there's just a big gecko on my wall right now. That always trips me out. I'm from Canada, so even though coming down here in Costa Rica, I've been here for 6 years, those things always catch my eye, and fucking funny, man. Anyways, back to the topic. So that's what I'm looking at for Johnson & Johnson. We do have a target. I would pay myself a little bit if it ever did come up, because you still, regardless of like I said about never selling, you do need to pay yourself. You need to lock in profits. You always need to protect yourself. And that is a nice way of doing it as well. So paying yourself into 180, that's 30 points per share potential. And it does look really good. So would I start in right now? Yep, I would start in a little bit. If it wants to come down, so be it. It's probably going to hold this lower level here at 133.28 and then start uptrending from there. So that is Johnson & Johnson. Now let's get into my favorite pick, the dreaded Pfizer. Everybody hates Pfizer, right? Well, at the end of the day, you can't fault a pig for being a pig. They're going to roll in the mud, right? And that's what these pharmaceutical companies are. And right now, if you scroll this chart back, guys, and you take a look at Pfizer, where it is. See, a lot of people, a lot of retail traders are really scared to go long as it's selling off, because it's kind of by design. When you see something going down, you think it's bad. When you see something red, that means stop or bad. When it's coming up, it's green, means good. And I know that sounds really ridiculous saying that out loud, but that's kind of the psychology behind it. A lot of people, a lot of traders, that's why they buy breakouts and short breakdowns instead of waiting for proper entries. You should actually do the opposite. You should buy dips and short pops. And I know that's a really simplistic way of looking at it, but that's how you do it. And what we have here on Pfizer, if you take a look, that's its low support. It's tested that area twice, almost 3 times. So what's happened here is it's tested that, it's tested that, it's tested that. It confirms strength and ripped. So that came up really quickly. So now it's pulling back into support. So I'm going to get zoomed in a little bit so then you guys can see. That's an important area. So right now, essentially, this thing's good to go. It's good to go. You could literally go long this morning. Now, obviously, by the time I get this video out, it might be a hair too late, but don't worry. Your risk is very minimal. You literally have about, even if it came up to here, you've got 2.5 points of risk down. It's not that much risk for what we're going to be holding. Remember, if these stocks go red on you, who gives a shit? You're holding it for years. It's not a short-term gain. So never think of it like that. So this has a massive potential. Even from where it is right now, let's check that. All the way back up to highs, you're looking at 126%. That's $34 a share on a $25, $28 stock. That's ridiculous. This is why this is my top pick is Pfizer, PFE. Now for targets on this one, again, I would only pay myself there. Oops. Sorry about that, folks. Give me 1 sec. So I would go right here. And then this thing, if it gets over this 200, it's going to start climbing up. And you can start setting really wide targets and higher. Keep going up. This is one that is absolutely primed. It is right at major support. In order for these stocks to break this level of support, it would need to stop out all of these longs. Remember, people hold these stocks as investment. They're not going to stop out easy. Now, the one thing I'm going to tell you is a little bit of market maker psychology. Like I just said, there are a lot of people that are in this long. If this breaks this lower level, that lower support level, and it sells off for a week, right? Don't be freaking out. Too many of you in my last pick, it showed what you guys are lacking. A lot of you are lacking emotional control in these stocks. Always put in what you're willing to lose. If you do that, it's like, who cares what it does, right? Like that LIDR still give you 40% the first day, 30% the second day, and 20 and 20 and 20% the following days. Has it sold off? Yeah. Is it coming down into support? Yeah. You got to pay yourself in those trades and let it do its thing. And when it's ready, it'll come up and it'll go up just like I said it did, or will, right? Like, relax, have patience. And especially with these, you're going to need a lot of patience. Now, back to the point. If it breaks that level, do not freak out. Why? Because what market makers and institutions will do is they need to gather up huge amounts of shares. Well, the only way to do that is to stop out retail traders with the weak hands, right? So when that happens, you're going to have a sell-off. You're going to have people panic. As it's panicking and selling off, that's when the smart money comes in and starts scooping up all of those shares. They need it, and they can even break that level. They do that on purpose to freak out retail traders. It's a classic game of cat and mouse. So that's fine. If it does that, I see that as a good thing. I like when it breaks these levels. It may take some time to get back over that level, to get some confidence back in the stock, but it will happen over time. And when it does, that's when you get big squeezes as well. It's kind of like a double-edged thing going on there, right? So that's what I'm looking for on Pfizer. Now now that I've went over that stocks, please stick around. Don't go anywhere, because this is the most important part of this video. It's not just about the picks. There's something more to this. Now I want to talk about, actually I want to tell you a quick story. Now I have a member, Heather, and she's a part of my service, and she's a 48-year-old woman, and I've spoken to her, and she is an intelligent, strong woman. And she hit me up yesterday in Facebook Messenger, and it was first thing in the morning. She sent me this, and she was a little concerned. And what it is she wanted to know more about herself and kind of understand why she might not be grasping certain things. And actually, Heather is doing quite well. We just did a truth behind the trade episode on her, and she's doing quite well. She's making some mistakes that need to be addressed, but she's doing fine for where she's at. So she wanted to get down to the root cause. It's something that I talk about all the time. So in order for her to do that, she ended up taking a cognitive function test, and it is Brain Check CQ, and we're going to go over their website here. So she ended up taking this test, right? And it seems like a legitimate website, which it is for all purposes, it is. And I want to share her results with you of this test, okay? Now, she gave me permission to share this with you guys. Now, remember, Heather is an average, intelligent, strong woman that is out there in the United States. She's above average intelligence, in my opinion, just how I've dealt with her, okay? So basically, this test has concluded that she is fucking retarded. Those are her words, not mine, but that's what it's concluded. So I looked over it, and if you take a look at her brain check, her combined score, out of a score of a possible 200, she is scored. And I want you to look at this graph. This is important. This graph is showing her at the very lowest end of the spectrum. Okay? It's not a good thing. So immediately, if somebody sees this upon taking this test, what are they going to do? They're going to book an appointment with a doctor. Okay? So if you take a look at her scores, she does very well with complex instruction. Okay, I'm not going to go through each and every one of these, but a lot of the stuff, her memory is horrible, and her cognitive function is horrible, which it isn't. It's not. How I know? You want to know how I know? Because I see the trades she takes, and you can't be a dummy and be a trader. It doesn't work that way, especially to trade in a professional capacity. She is that close to being there. So she's doing very well. So with her having this score of 69 out of a possible 200, it's going to scare someone that takes that. So when she showed me this, I'm like, I don't know. I smell a rat. So then I started digging into the website. Now, what this is, for those of you that may not be aware of this, it is a lead generator. It's actually very dirty. And there's a point to all of this, so please keep paying attention. So if you go under benefits to the provider, the first one that pops up, of course, is provide high quality patient care, right? So you go through and then you start seeing their true colors, what this actually is. Add revenue for your practice. What this is a lead generator for medical professionals, medical clinics, hospitals, the whole nine. They're a lead generator for doctors, which is dirty as hell. Because if you took a test, if you went to braincheck.com and you take a look at this and you're like, okay, I'm going to give them all my information. Now, obviously, I'm sure Heather had to give them personal information and personal information that she probably doesn't share with most people. Well, she has. And now these fuckers are going to go off and they're going to sell, because that's what it is. They sell this information to doctors and hospitals and healthcare professionals. That is extremely dirty. And then these doctors and healthcare professionals contact Heather in her area saying, it's probably time for a checkup. Now, this is, in my opinion, how this story would go. I could be wrong. Okay, I could be. And then they contact Heather and say, okay, it's time to come in for an exam. So as she comes in for the exam, they have all of this information. Well, we see that have you taken any tests lately? Yeah, I took a brain check CQ test. Oh, okay, well, let's go over those results. They go over the results and, well, Heather, you seem to be retarded, so we need to give you a bunch of medication. And I know that sounds, I'm making light of the situation, and I actually shouldn't, but what happens here on this is they also have ADHD medication, right? They have testing for that. ADHD medication, depression medication, antidepressants. They're going to have a bunch of medication. This is a test designed for the average consumer to just go out and test, thinking that they're being proactive with their health. And then they go to a fucking white coat and they get fed the cure, which isn't a cure. It actually makes these things a lot worse. Taking antidepressants is no fucking good. That stuff is going to deplete your serotonin. It's going to make you feel worse. Okay? It'll actually stop your serotonin production, which is not good. ADHD medication, I think we all should know by now that it's not a good thing. So what this is, again, it's brilliant marketing. This is an ad. That's all this stuff is. And if you look up, if I were to search brain check CQ, let's do that. If you scroll and you go through all of these, that's all this stuff is, guys. That's all it is. Now, you can look up does brain check test for ADHD? It's all of this shit that they want you to get on, and they want you to stuff pills down your throat. Maybe you see where this whole video is actually heading now. So what I find disgusting about all of this, is we put our faith into a system. Now, remember when I told you the story about Eli Lilly? Way back in the 1800s when he started Eli Lilly. He started it, like I said, just to quickly refresh your memory. He wanted to start it to get rid of the snake oil salesman. Now, the problem is with all of this is the pharmaceutical companies, big pharma, has turned into the snake oil salesman. They are coming at you with a problem, and then they sell you the solution. Now, with this brain check CQ company, is that not the very definition of fraud? It's fraudulent. It's a fraudulent company. They're not giving you an actual test. Do you think they give a shit about those test results? And it's not just brain check CQ, in my opinion. It also has to do with the media that's out there. Look at the media. When you have newscasts, news organizations, the nightly news is all sponsored by Pfizer, GSK, Moderna, and all of these companies, AstraZeneca. What does that tell you? Do you think that they're going to say don't take that jab. Don't take the jab. Of course they are. It's come to light that Anderson Cooper was paid. He was sponsored by, I believe it was Pfizer. I could be wrong about that. I don't know who actually sponsored him. Our system is flawed, guys. We all know this. The point of this video is to get you guys to realize that what you're seeing out there isn't actually what is there, what is legitimate. And it's actually quite scary. Take Heather, for example. You know, she's not dumb for falling for it. That looks like a legitimate test. It isn't. It's not a legitimate test. It's a lead generating system. It is marketing. All that is an ad. That's like clicking on any Facebook ad or YouTube ad and filling out a questionnaire and giving them all of your personal information, because that's basically what she had to do. So I really hope people understand the bigger point of this. I brought you in with giving you some picks of big pharma companies, because at the end of the day, these companies, the way our system is right now, it will never fail. This isn't a good thing. This shouldn't be a video where people are happy. It's like, oh man, I'm going to get some picks. It's not what this video is actually about. This video, I hope, is to reach the few people out there. Actually, it's more than a few that haven't woken up yet. It's bad. This is all bad. I'm not trying to fill you guys with doom and gloom. What I'm trying to get at is be aware. I did video with Adam, and we were talking about, be careful where you get your advice from. We've been raised in an era where we were told to rely on people in white coats, and politicians are here to save us. And that is not the case. Because until things change, these stocks will not go down. They're too protected. And it's messed up. And that brain check CQ is just a very tip of the iceberg. We have actors and actresses and news anchors and musicians that are all being paid and sponsored by big pharma. Why would a pill company, a medical company, a medication company sponsor a musician or a politician or a news anchor? Well, why do you think? Do you think any word that has come out of their mouths in the last 4 years plus is an honorable word? If there's any of you watching this that are still listening to mainstream media or getting your opinions from Hollywood, you better wake the fuck up. You got to realize that this is all crazy. And it's the politicians too. They're the worst. That's why we're in this situation. But at the end of the day, it's not the politicians, is it? At the beginning of this, when I was talking about Pfizer, I said you can't fault a pig for being a pig. You can't get mad at a pig because he's dirty, right? It's the same thing as a politician. We all know they're dirty. Each and every one of them. And I don't want to hear people in the comment section going with one side or another. They're all fucking dirty. We need to change the system. Nobody's doing anything about it. And the crazy thing is, I've seen what happens when everybody sticks together. I got a quick story for you. I worked up north, up at CNRL Horizon, and some Chinese foreign workers came and they started building these massive oil tanks, the biggest oil tanks on planet Earth. And they weren't following any type of Canadian standards or anything else. It was all Chinese national bullshit. And then those tanks collapsed and killed a bunch of them. And then I was part of the company. I was contracted through the company to come in and clean up the mess and basically rebuild these tanks. Long story short, I'm working on the floor. There's a bunch of holes. The sun is coming into the tank. And I looked at the ground and I was like, that's fucking blood. There was a big punch mark from a massive steel beam. And then there was a pool of blood that was obviously cleaned up, but metal is porous. So I said, fuck this. I got together with all the guys. There was about 140 rig welders on that site. Got together with all of them. I said, okay, guys, we got to walk. Enough is enough here. They said that they were going to get these floor plates flowing out. We're walking over blood. We're literally walking over dead bodies. It's time we stand together. So we did. And we walked. And they threatened us with kicking us off site. Go ahead. We don't care. We're not going back on site. You won't find another rig welder in Alberta to do it. We all stuck together. And guess what happened? Things got changed immediately. The next morning, those floor plates were being flown out. So the moral of the story is, ladies and gentlemen, for those of you that say that we can't do anything and we're powerless, you're fucking soft. Because if we do stick together, all of this changes, and it changes fucking immediately. So I really hope people start working together and stop wanting to be part of a tribe. And it doesn't matter if you're on the left or on the right. I don't give a fuck. You're both wrong. To be a part of a political tribe is insanity. In this day and age, come on, guys, wake up. It's both sides. They're all in the wrong. And the only ones that can fix it are us. We need to fix it. Now, do I have all the solutions? Absolutely not. I don't have the solutions. I wish I did. I'm not that guy. But we got to start. It all starts by sticking together. So hopefully you understand the whole premise of this video. I know I lured you in with 5 or 6 stock picks. And they're all the technicals that I gave you. It's all sound. And especially the last 2. Those are the last 2 that I really like. But there's a bigger point to this video, isn't there? So hopefully you guys got it. Okay, guys. I hope you enjoyed this one. Have a good one. Adios.